how's it going just kind of getting back to football a little bit more?
Oh man, it's been really fun for me personally to actually be around the guys, right? To be doing a little bit of football. When you take a job coming from a position of only doing football, and then you take a job in this position, you're doing a little bit less of that. And so today, today for sure was a day where I was able to get into the coaches meetings with the players, hearing them communicate, us all communicating at a high level. So that's what really matters, is when the players get in, and that's been a blast.
As a follow-up, just how would you want to see this sort of play out over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think right now we're trying to establish really two things: the fundamentals and techniques of the schemes, right? We're not truly diving into the scheme at the moment. Fundamentals and technique, and then as well our culture, the way that we're going to play the game, our style of play. Those are the two things that we'd like to be able to get out of this, especially in phase one, where you're not on the grass with the players. We're really installing our basic core fundamentals and principles and techniques, and then also the culture, our style of play, and our commitments as well.
For the fifth-year option on Trayvon, are there any plans with Devin Lloyd right now to pick up the fifth-year option?
No plans right now in terms of, we're having those conversations, getting used to the player, right? We just got to get used to him a little bit and get to know him a little bit. We're excited about him. Guy that we see we can do some things with. Like, we do feel excited about some of his versatility and experience. So some of those conversations, they'll be open and honest and communicated.
The toughness that you talk about this franchise needs to have, can you get that now? What
Yeah.
do you do? How do you start to?
That's a great, we actually had that conversation today with the players. I know that this is not a physical time. It can't be, and it isn't. But the establishing of the mindset, the way that we're gonna do things, the way that we want the meetings, like Coach Camp brought up today, our meetings should be tough, right? Like, we're learning new information. It's all very new for everybody. That's hard. It's hard to do for a coach, for a player. It's hard to learn. So when you do hard things and you come out on the other end, usually you say, well, I got tougher from that. So we do believe that we can start to establish that. That was similar in Tampa last year when we got to the off-season program and got into it. You could start to see the toughness come out in the way that we broke the huddle, the way that we communicated, the way that we actually ran off the ball. You could see some of that stuff come to life.
I think no top 30 visits here, and maybe the change in philosophy for that.
Yeah, I mean, I can let James detail that a little bit more. It's more so just, hey, we're trying to keep everything that we're doing in-house, and trusting. We'll do some things possibly virtually and things like that with guys that we need to have another touch point with, but ultimately it's not something that we're going to be interested in doing at the moment.
What's it been like going through the draft process now as a head coach as opposed to coordinator in the past?
Yeah, I mean, special teams matter. So, you have to look at the whole, right? I mean, it's starting anew for me in a lot of ways, right? Where you've been used to evaluating offense players, and then naturally when you're evaluating offense players, defensive players shine, right? And you start to see that. And then in recruiting in college, you're recruiting defensive players as well. But the whole entirety, how they fit into the puzzle, the vision, what we're trying to establish, and how those players end up fitting into those situations, it's different. It's just a different perspective. It's great to listen to the collaboration between personnel and coaching when it comes to some of these meetings. So it's been great to listen. I've been doing a little bit more listening than talking.
Coach Lee, lining up in 2025, or what's better for the franchise down the road when evaluating the draft prospect?
Yeah, I think ultimately in this world that we're in, it's what have you done lately, right? What are you doing in the now in order to show success and to show that we're going in the right direction? So ultimately, we have 10 picks. We're going to lean on some of those guys to play early on, and ultimately we can't be afraid of that, right? We had 3 of them in Tampa last year play and have a lot of success for us. We can't be afraid of that moment and to play some young players. So the goal is to get better quicker, right? With having a vision, so having long sustained success That's important to us. But at the moment, we're looking at winning right now.
Important thing for right now. I mean, this is your first time with like the building full.
That's right. Yeah, we had a team meeting about rules and regulations, introductions. We had a team meeting as well about our style of play, first and foremost. Really, before we dive into the culture, we're going to dive into the way that we're going to play out on the grass. We also had a culture meeting with the entire building, which was really cool, where it was all departments, everybody was involved, and it was just a cool way of getting together, establishing the communication lines and how we want to do things and operate. So it is very important at this moment in time for us, yeah.
Are you putting Trevor on any kind of reduced throwing schedule or anything like that for the spring?
He's been working on it himself right now in terms of like monitoring that with the doctors and with Will and Ferg and those guys downstairs. We haven't had anything to do with it at the moment. As we lead in, we're optimistic that we'll get there, in terms of where we need to go. He'll be on a pitch count for those things in terms of where he has to get to, because he has little touch points he needs to reach before he can obviously get out onto the grass and do it full speed. Everything's moving forward. He feels really good right now, so excited about that.
New strength and conditioning staff, not knowing this roster really not having their hands on them until right now.
Yeah, I think it could be looked at it as a challenge. I think it could also look, it's like a blank slate for these guys, because there's no pre-existing, just thoughts about anybody. It's just, hey man, this is how we're doing it. These are the things that we're gonna do, while also gearing it towards, at some point here, individual development plans for each player. So as we go, we're setting the standards in the weight room, how we want to operate. Skills will lift this way, the big skill here, and the bigs they all have different weights and things that they're doing, but the mode of operation, the standard, the communication will all be similar. So I think it's actually great that they are starting from scratch and having those relationships be able to be fostered. And then as we grow, get to know each other a little bit more, those IDPs will become a little bit more common.
How would you evaluate participation right now with your 90-man roster?
Very high, very high. Very pleased, very appreciative of the guys for being here, taking the time, knowing that it is voluntary, but it's definitely setting a positive standard right now.
How valuable is it seeing the free agents kind of start to integrate themselves into the current roster?
Yeah, it's big. When we signed 10, right? And it's a large number of guys to be able to come in. We've got all the players' faces downstairs in the lobby as you walk in, new and former players. And really, just at the end of the day, most players that do come in, it is a little bit like being a freshman back in high school again, reintegrating. But the goal is for these guys to be able to come in, work their tails off, earn respect throughout the way that they're going to be able to, kind of get through this program and planning, and they've been positive so far though.
How much of this is kind of the guys kind of getting to know you and the staff?
Very much so. Before we can do anything, we've got to be able to show them at least we care, right? We care first, and we care about not only the success of the organization, but also the development of the player. And when they know that, hey, we're here to truly help see you become the best version of yourself, both on and off the field, once we establish those lines, start to have more intimate conversations, well, that's usually when you feel them start to maybe let the guard down and say, okay, hey, I'm open to hearing maybe a new way of learning or a different way of doing this, and vice versa for coaches as well.
When it comes to the O-line, are you satisfied with the free agents, or are you still looking at that room a little bit more?
Yeah, I think from that standpoint, we're always looking to add to the roster, whether it's through the draft, free agency, things like that. But I do believe we brought in some players to come help compete in that room. A couple, obviously with Haynes, knowing the system, and McCarty playing a lot of football, and guys coming in, it's only going to help, right? Help add competitiveness to the room, and also just some accountability to knowing the system. That'll help everybody in that room. So it's cool. Both of our centers actually know a version of the system in different ways, but it's only going to help bringing those guys in.
I know you said you guys are still evaluating with Devin, but why were you so confident in picking up a fifth-year option for Trayvon at this point, before off-season workouts began?
It's just the type of guy, getting to know him a little bit, and knowing that, hey, this is something we know we want to be a part of, right? We want to have this relationship, and now once we get them in the building, under our roof, getting to know each other a little bit more and creating those conversations, I think that was really what stood out.
You mentioned, I think last week or whenever, the owners' meetings, the power of touch in that study. Did that intrigue you when you first learned about that? Is that something you really want to incorporate here in the culture you're establishing?
That's right. You know, you just look at connection, and nowadays connection's so hard to actually create because so much of our lives are, you know, on a phone, and just having interpersonal conversations, and also, you know, just the old fist bump, the high five, the, you know, chest bump, like just that helps bring people together. You look at every free throw a basketball player shoots, and it's here. And so how do we continue to add that into, like, as a kid when you were taught to celebrate, what did that look like? And that's what we're ultimately trying to get to, is bringing the team together, bringing the coaches and staff together to do something that ultimately we've never done before.
It showed you going back home and being able to spend some time with your family. Just how much does that mean to you, just being able to do that after, you know, achieving your dream?
I appreciate that question. Yeah, that was really cool. It was when you've wanted something for so long, and the people that helped raise you and that were around that saw that from a young age, and were able to support you throughout those times and getting to that goal, to share those moments in that time that we don't usually get, it was really special. It's hard when you move around in this profession, or in any profession that we live in. It becomes hard to become closer with family, and that was a really special weekend.
Coach, a lot of people, like this time of year, are looking for tendencies, right? And you guys don't have any yet. They want to go to the Rams or the Bucks or to Green Bay with Campanile. What's the process been like for you to make this and create this as your own individual thing?
That's a great one. You're always pulling, right? Everybody's pulling from different places to ultimately make it ours, right? And we've got to watch those tapes of where we all came from, and okay, find out what is the 25 Jags though? Like, how does this fit us? If we may not have that answer right now, that's the kind of cool part, is we're going to throw as much at these guys mentally in this offseason, as much as we can handle, and probably more, much more actually, because it's not a physical time of the year. It's a time of the year we can stress them mentally. Ultimately, throw that as much at them as we can, from Minnesota, from Tampa, from LA, from Green Bay, whatever it is, and see what we can handle. We're not going to know who we're truly going to be for a while, but it's more so testing to see how much they can handle, and if maybe some of those concept schemes, fundamentals fit our players. That's a great question, because that's something that we're constantly working through right now as a staff.
In building Trevor into what you guys ultimately want him to be, the footwork has to be something where you start kind of at ground zero. Can you work on that now, knowing his injury was to his shoulder, and
Yeah.
as much as you can kind of illustrate maybe?
Right, I mean,
Can you do
as
that?
we've gotten him now in the building, we are trying to create black and white lines when it comes to footwork in ways. So that understanding that the game is played in the gray. There's so much that occurs on a play. If you can have core fundamentals in footwork and that you believe in and that you trust, in those times of crisis, you have something to actually fall back on and play with a quieted mind. And so this is a great opportunity now that he is a little limited from a throwing standpoint, that we can dive into the footwork. He can dive into it on his own time, and really work at this thing. So he's committed to it. It's something that we feel strongly about, that can help him continue to get better. And ultimately on Sundays, you know, we hope that shows up.
Over the last few years on tape, just how much does he need to push to change that footwork or anything like that?
It's not really a change, just tweaking. He's extremely talented, and he's made some unbelievable plays in critical moments and led some huge comebacks. He's played hurt. He's done so many good things. Now it's just about, okay, how do we fine tune it and just tighten it up a little bit to get him in a place where he's comfortable to cut the ball loose on time and in rhythm, regardless of the circumstances. And that's really what it comes down to. being able to give him some balance around him so that he can feel like, man, not every play is on me, right? Not every play every throw I have to make is gonna have to be life or death, man. We've got to create some balance for him so that he can just go play quieted with free of failure and just go let it rip.